Patrick is up to, but she adds another wrinkle to it in that there aren't just 2 layers of government, there are 3 layers of government.
Uh-huh.
And let me get this right.
Well, she actually, I read that letter to the U.S. Treasury, and it includes probate.
Right. Right. So I basically, when I ran across her, I sent her Patrick's stuff, and she sort of looked at it, but I have to talk to her some more. The thing is that both that and I talked to you about Thomas Craig Nelson, right?
I don't think so.
He's a guy who gets into the whole business of how what Anna calls U.S. major and U.S. minor came about, because Congress has 2 different powers. It can legislate for the states of the Union, but it only has subject matter jurisdiction on limited subjects. Mm-hmm. But for the District of Columbia, it can legislate on anything, and has subject matter, territorial, and personal jurisdiction. And so technically it can be run as a totalitarian state, and it is.
Okay, so in this manner, minor and major would be international, and minor would be dealing within the body of the 50 states.
No, major is the Constitution and the original organic states. The minor is where they redefined the word state and United States to mean District of Columbia. So that we are all considered to be part of a municipal government by the 1871 Act. It's a second layer of government.
Okay, so municipality is, that could be the reasons why Reagan had passed an executive order that actually slam dunk the authority or the restrictions and limitations that municipalities have no power without the top down commanding it.
Right, because they're all franchises of the original District of Columbia. Both Thomas Craig Nelson and Anna von Reitz, with some of her previous stuff, go into this extensively. But what she adds is that after World War II, the bankruptcy was completed and everything was turned over to the IMF and run out of Puerto Rico.
Okay, did you see that clip that I posted yesterday that Boris had sent out to everybody that said that it was a court case that unanimously made the determination that all judges are subject directly under the United Nations?
Well, she cites the act. No, I didn't see that. I'd love to see that. But she cites that act, and she says right now what the United Nations is trying to do is that it put a U.S. major into bankruptcy during the Depression. And what they're trying to do is now put U.S. minor into depression, tied up with Puerto Rico itself going. Put them into bankruptcy, with Puerto Rico going into bankruptcy, so that basically the IMF can seize all the estates.
Well, they would. Okay, so all right, but the big problem they're going to have with that is they never had the consent or ratification of the people to start with, so it's an act of treason, and it would be a very belligerent. It would be a hostile act, like a letter of marque and reprisal against the people of this country, when, to start with, we never gave consent for this to happen. Some of the paper I'm working with, Thomas, is to repudiate any subjectivity of anything that I own as being controlled or leaned against by any other party in the world. To be free.
She agrees with that too. But, bingo, that's the thing, except that they're so used to doing it and they've gotten away with it so long that they commit act of treason for breakfast.
Well, there's no doubt about it, but I think with as many movements as going on, is that it could be their last desperate attempt to have.
Did you read into the fact that she says she represents the Pope, and I'm going to call her later on today, and that a year ago the Pope gave them 3 years to clean up their act, and she points out in her letter to the treasurer that they've wasted 1 year.
Yeah, but I do remember reading that. I think that 3 years is more than, if I understand the papal letters that were sent out, is that there was a time period that was up at that moment that these clowns are working under the original jurisdiction of the Vatican, and that at any given time that anybody filed a claim or a complaint at the Holy See is that they would act upon it.
Right. And I'm still trying, because when you talk to Patrick about this, and I've always had this thought that if at our revolution we broke off with Britain and any other foreign obligation, why do we need to honor any treaty Britain may have had with the Vatican at the time?
Well, because the Constitution actually says that whatever's not repugnant belongs to the original jurisdiction of the Brits. I've read it. It's right in the Constitution that all laws that are established in the United States are under the original jurisdiction of either... See, the way it works is that the granting of Roman civil law was granted to Brits, and their treaties of 1812 has everything to do with us utilizing them unless it was repugnant to the Constitution.
Okay, she pointed me towards the 1783 Treaty of Paris.
Well, yeah,
and the fact that there was also an additional Versailles Treaty that people aren't aware of.
Yeah, the Treaty of 1812, which actually was signed off in 1816 of Andrew Jackson, that actually was a enforcement of the Treaty of Paris, of which made, in other words, it sealed that original offer, or whatever you want to consider under the Treaty of Paris. So what it actually did by them coming in and destroying Washington D.C. And them upsetting our United States was an act of enforcement to enact that the original jurisdiction, yes, it could have been owned by the patent holder, which is the Vatican, but one of the extensions that was a contract with Britain was the extension that was the original jurisdiction for the United States at that time. You see?
Boy, we really need to straighten out history.
Well, yeah, because there.
That's once I can break the funds loose. That's sort of what I want to do, is set up a university to straighten out this whole mess.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. I think that would be a good effort as to clean up history and really put it out there for what it really was.
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
But she makes the additional point that Patrick talks about the two trusts that had been set up, one by the Confederation, Articles of Confederation, and the other by the Constitution, which more formalized it. And she's saying that these are still children of the papal global estates that have been in effect for a long time.
Well, okay,
and that part of these treaties, the reason that the United States made a treaty with the Vatican is because it wanted access to those global estates.
Yeah, but you gotta look at it from the way history's written. Okay, so whatever's a satellite under Brits was the same that Japan was, the India, and a half a dozen other countries that are now out from underneath their control. The last thing that they've got as a satellite is the United States, and there was no time restrictions on any release back to freedom or liberty for the United States. It actually ended up becoming their main staple or profit-making situation of where those treaties and contracts would be the original jurisdiction to the Brits, of which the Vatican has original jurisdiction over the Brits. So, if you really wanted to stir up the pot here, is that you can repudiate right to the Holy See the fact that there's a treaty or a contract with the Brits that actually has or obtained original jurisdiction of where it's clearly not them as being original jurisdiction, but the Vatican. And therefore, that becomes a violation of their contract of original jurisdiction, and you go right to the Vatican as to clear that up, or the Holy See.
Well, in fact, what she's saying is that the Vatican does want to clear this up.
Yes.
And I would tend to say that the Constitution of the United States won the war. What happened is that Andrew Jackson set the stage for the bankers to come in and create, using the second power of the Congress, to set up a overlay government that nobody realizes is not the original government.
Yes, and if you look at how the bankers came in around 1816 and how they overthrew our government at that point, that was no different than hiring a lawyer on a court case, of putting you between them and everything that has been conducting based off the bankruptcy, which is a sealed deal, is that there's a conservatee-conservator relationship of the reasons why some of the public officials are saying that you have no say, that you're incompetent. I mean, Obama has said the same thing, that you're incompetent to handle your own affairs, and their whole mentality is a communist commercial enterprise that puts somebody between you and your government. And it's no different back then as it is right now, and that's the problem that everybody's trying to clear up.
Right. Well, you can argue about whether you should call it communist or call it fascist, because Mussolini said that the definition of fascist is corporatism. And that's basically what the 1871 Act did, is it installed corporatism.
Yeah, and I think...
Now, communism was designed and installed by the fascist bankers. You always have to have two sides that can fight each other.
Well, I would even extend it to say both are true, because Marxism, too, you can combine all of that into how this country has whittled everything down to be a perfect mafia organized crime unit, and that nobody has any say because they're carrying all the guns. But it took the rest of the world, and I knew this 10 years ago, it would take the rest of the world to bust up this game, and it's happening right now in front of our eyes.
Right. So, I was hoping that when I got to her, I could run Patrick's stuff by her, and she could tell me what she saw wrong and right. And the reaction I got, because I haven't been able to spend, she's obviously been doing a lot of writing recently, is her reaction seemed to be, Patrick may be right, but she has a simpler way of taking care of this stuff, and some of it is just sending to the Ogden, Utah IRS. And what it amounts to is she's saying that in terms of naming conventions, your name in all lowercase is the constitutional United States.
De jure, yeah.
Your name capitalized, in other words, initial capital letter, is the corporate United States.
Yes.
Your name in all caps is actually the IMF UN version of it, which began in 1946.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I saw all our different versions.
And what she's saying, I have the language here somewhere, and I have to ask her to, but I think what she said is, I have too many windows up. Yeah, but not enough of the right thing.
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look at the...
Okay. She's basically saying that we could take a bill and get it set off by putting on it accepted for payment in the amount shown one time only, signed, dated, and the account number of your Social Security and number in with no dashes and surrounded by asterisks.
Okay, I like it. I like it. Do you have that in hard print?
I can dump it right here on your Skype. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try Patrick's method, and I'm going to try that.
Okay, yeah, if you can send that over, I'll take a look at it, because the grand jury over in Colorado is working on bills of exchange, and if you got a particular set of words like what you're describing, I think that would actually be a benefit for them perfecting that process.
Well, I'm going to call her and ask her how many of these she's done, or how many does she know that have been done.
Well, why don't you tie us both in?
Okay.
You want to try it now?
No, she's not available right now.
Okay, because I'd be interested in talking to her, because what she's doing is right in the same vein. We're all going the same direction as far as I see.
Right.
Even though that Patrick doesn't see that we're all going the same direction, we are.
Well, he may be right in some things, and you may be right in other things. There may be a marriage of all of this.
Well, that's the whole idea. I mean, you have to work together, even if you're using different language, because truth is truth is truth is truth.
Right. I view this as a scientific experiment, and what you do is form hypotheses and test them.
Yeah.
And then when you come up with a contradiction, you go back and rework your hypotheses. And Patrick has been doing that weekly.
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't bash him for having so many versions of things, because he's doing the testing.
Well, there's no bashing on my behalf, if that's what you're indicating.
I'm not indicating it, but other people, I've heard a lot of other people bash him.
Well, that's only because they're not.
I try to toss people out of the Yahoo group who every week or so have to say, what successes are we? Oh, things are changing all the time, blah, blah, blah.
Well, Thomas, stop and think about it. Are those people actually engaged in research, or are they just looky-loos and people that just want something for free?
Something for free.
Yeah. Okay, so you nailed it for what they are.
Yeah.
Us researchers, we know better. This is work in progression. So.
Right.
All right. Okay. So if you want to.
I'll try to pull together with her on this. I've only talked with her a couple of times, and she seemed to be very open. But it could be she's not flexible enough, but I'll see. I mean, she was very open. She sent me some of her papers.
Oh, okay. Well, anything you can forward to me would be welcomed. But that quote that you said about payable to such and such, can you send me just, even if you just typed it into the window?
I dumped it on your Skype here.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I'm looking at EPLO and some other probate group that I'm working for.
It should be there. It's a couple of lines.
Okay, I'm having to scroll down. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so that would be the Social Security front and back, or just the front?
No, that's just the front.
Okay.
And that there's also two Federal Reserves, one in capitalized and the other one in all caps. And the one in all caps is the IMF one.
Okay, got it. Yeah.
So she may be right. There may be an initial layer on here, and so that both of you and Patrick, may have to adjust to that.
Well, I'm already adjusted. I don't know where you get the idea that I'm not.
Okay.
In fact, I think there's more than just 2 layers. I think there's probably 3 or 4, because you've got the United States lowercase, and you've got the United States uppercase, and you've got the combinations of all the states, and then you've got the satellite, which is District of Columbia, that interfaces in one way, which is for the 51 states, and then you've got them acting in the capacity as a satellite to the rest of the world. I mean, there's 5 right there.
Yeah, well, yeah, those are different combinations of the essential ingredients, yeah.
Yeah, so be careful with your presumptions. Hey, what's the latest with Keenan?
Basically, it turns out that 240,000 tons in Korea that the U.S. Navy was trying to steal was bullshit.
All right.
And I forget what some other stuff. Basically, he's still working away. OPPT and Swiss Indo have raised their heads again, and his last update was all of these various what seem to be cabal-oriented theories of reset are coming out, and they're really just trying to steal his thunder and pretend like they're the real one.
Mm-hmm.
So, but what he's working on right now is the various elders who are actually trying to work with the cabal to settle off some of their assets, and the Chinese families are putting a stop to that.
What do you? What's he got to say about the RV? Is this thing going to fly anytime soon, or?
No, he doesn't follow the RV.
Oh, is that right? I thought
Right.
I thought the white hats and what they are offering the world had, because that Dave Schmidt, I saw his yesterday's YouTube, and it actually pretty much states that there is no money other than what the white hats. I don't know if I believe that for a second, but he's saying that it's dependent on the prosperity packages being released for any of this stuff to fly anyway.
I think that's bull.
I think so too. You know, I just don't get that everything's in the hands of the white
whole
hats.
prosperity package smacks of City of London bank trading programs, and that's certainly not the way the Chinese are going to get it going.
Yeah. Well, I think the BRIC countries have definitely got something in the workings.
Oh yeah. They've been thinking about this for a while.
Well, you know, it's a good thing that we have the input for the rest of the world on this, because if you left it to the United States and their government, we'd be in dire straits at this point. I mean, it's not to say that we're not in dire straits right now, but if there was no check and balance from the rest of the world saying, we're not going to pursue that shit.
Well, the way I view it is we don't have a United States government. It's being run by the British.
Yeah, or actually a few cabal members.
Yeah. Infiltrators and domestic enemies.
Well, the good thing is that maybe our representatives are going to stop and think that they've got a time limit before they have to either clean themselves up and act in the capacity as representatives and fairly and honestly on behalf of the people, or they're going to eventually be dealt with, you know. So.
All right, well, we'll see how much muscle what Anna says has. Because if what she's saying is right, they made that, you know, supposedly everybody's immunity to prosecution expired last September 1st.
Yeah, and that's the reasons why I can't imagine why she'd be saying that they've got 3 years to clean up their act, when anybody can put in a complaint or a claim right now as to have the Holy See prosecute these bastards.
I'll ask her. That's a good point. That's a great point.
Yeah, because the letters have already put them on notice at any time that anybody puts a claim in. And I am already a private attorney general that put an impeachment against I put an impeachment in that went to the legislative floor. I delivered it right to the floor. Same time that I swore in as a constitutional office for the private attorney general, and that went to the Vatican. It went right to the Holy See, to the judicial, and 3 to 6 months thereafter is when all the papal letters came out.
Wow. So you helped trigger this off.
Yeah. They got a copy that all these people that are acting as a constitutional officer have overthrown our government, and it was 150 pages that the Secretary of State had communicated to me. I was correct when we went back and spent 6 weeks looking for any the state bar and the judicial council out here in California are completely a hostile take. It's usurpian. They have usurped our offices. They are not ratified by the people. They were never put up for a ballot. And on top of it, the legislative floor, to make it a positive law instead of an underground regulation, never even elected them to become a part of the Constitution. So they have been unlawfully added to the Constitution and have no standing in the public.
Wow. Okay.
No, that's the 150 pages that I had cranked out, documented all of this, and it went to the legislative floor, went to the Supreme Court, went to the Attorney General's office, and to the Vatican. And that was
I'd love to see that.
Yeah, that was 3 to 6 months. Well, I presented to a common law, a grand jury, and they fizzled out, and it pissed me off. I was going to do a prosecution so we'd have something in the state, and I swore I would never go back and act as a prosecutor for the grand juries because I'm just so fed up with people not getting their shit together, you know?
Oh, those people that I'm talking with who talk common law don't really understand what they're doing. That's what I'm seeing so far.
Well, common law is under original jurisdiction of probate.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And so is all the writs. Every one of your writs is a common law and subject to probate. And everybody's missing the boat. You are never meant to be under corporate civil commerce law because you're not a commercial entity.
All right.
And what they did is they trespassed. It goes right back to that same act of treason. It's the treason that has perpetually kept us being robbed, commercially theft, and that has been pillaging all the probate without any hearing as to have that occurred. That's just absolute pirating.
Okay, I'd love to see that paper.
What paper?
Your 150 pages to the legislature.
Yeah, I'm not passing that out right now, Thomas.
Okay.
Because it's got to stay intact, and it can't be like, it's got to be presented to a grand jury, and I'm waiting for a good grand jury to commence as to do a presentation. But
well, let's talk to Anna about that.
Sure. Yeah, because I've got all the registered mailings and everything for all the papers that were confirmed, delivered right to the legislative floor. This is like 3 years ago now, or almost 3 years ago. All right, so anyway, that's it. Yeah, talk to Anna and see if she wants to get on board and talk for a bit. I'd actually participate with that. That would be a good thing.
Okay, and when we hang up here, can you dump the call onto the Skype?
Oh, sure, yeah, no problem.
Okay.
You want me to go ahead and dump the other one too for Patrick?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
I'll keep my windows and stuff open so you can get both of those downloaded. I'll send one at a time. How about that?
That's fine. That's
okay.
Fine.
See you in a while.
Sure. Bye.